Welcome to Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, hosted by Todd DeVoe, where planning meets reality.
Good morning. I'm Todd DeVoe. I'm the Director of Emergency Services at Titan HST, and I've been involved in responding to emergencies and disasters since about 1989. In addition to the work I do at Titan HST, I'm an educator, teaching at the post-secondary level, and learning and sharing what I've learned is a big passion for me. So welcome to Business Continuity Today, where together we will continue to learn. Today we're talking about, why disaster drills work. But I want to start off by talking about a story I came across on the newswire, and it's about the tornadoes that just happened. Was a couple weeks ago now, and an Illinois plant was leveled by the storm Roanoke, and it says that a twisted steel girders, scattered power lines, and mangled cars now litter the lot where the Peterson Manufacturing Company and the plant, where more than 100 of its employees were working just minutes before the tornado hit. Now, the interesting part about the story isn't the fact of the destruction that occurred, in my mind, at least. It's the fact that the chief operating officer, Kevin, I can't pronounce his last name, Tertani, was credited for having his team safe, and for at 2:38 p.m. for saving about 150 coworkers' lives. And basically, what they did is they've had disaster drills at their plant, and everybody on the plant knew what to do. That when the tornado sirens went off, they all got into a hardened area of the plant, what happens to be the bathrooms. Now, if you guys have traveled at all and gone through some of the Midwest areas, airports, you'll see at the airport bathrooms they have the sign that says tornado shelter. So evidently that seems to be the place where to be able to harden the building. And so they got everybody into the bathroom. 150 people lived after the building was struck and destroyed. I find it really interesting that if you take a look at that story with a group in that area in Roanoke, that was able to save 150 people due to practices and drills, it kind of shows that they work. Another story that we've talked about here many times was the story on 9/11, where the Morgan Stanley was able to save their 2,600 people out of their building, out of the Twin Towers, to be able to, because they're drills, right? And drills work. And we know about this. We know that drills work specifically because if you take a look at kids with fire drills, when the fire alarm goes off, they all know to stand up, get in line, walk out the door, and go to a place designated for them, with the teachers' assistants, right? All little kids, even preschoolers know to get in line, and they all hold their hands and walk out to the place where they need to go. All the way up through high school. And even though high school kids, acting different about it, they know what to do. With the duck covered hold on drills that we do here in California, specifically for earthquakes, we know they work. And I can tell you a personal story that my son, when he was about 10 years old, we had an earthquake, and he grabbed my toddler daughter at the time and went under the table and held onto her and held onto the table like he was taught to do in school. So we know these drills work. And it's interesting that you see a lot of pushback a lot of times from people at the C-suite when it comes to doing drills for the organization at businesses now, because they feel that it's taking time away from being productive. Well, a time away from being productive for the hour or whatever it takes really does make a difference at the end of the day. Because when we get under stress and pressure, we revert to our what's called the lowest level of competency. And so that is what do we know the best of, right? The story I tell a lot of times is under pressure. There was a car accident that I responded to when I was working in the field, and the woman who was involved in the car accident was speaking to me only in Spanish. Not that it's a big deal. I live in an area where there's a lot of people who speak only Spanish. So we're trying to figure out what's going on, talking to her, so forth and so on. And as her adrenaline lowered and her stress levels lowered, she started talking in English without an accent. Because when she's under pressure, it goes to the lowest level competence. It's the area that you grew up doing on a regular basis. Do this when you're under stress. Pick up a phone and try dialing a telephone number that you don't know, that you haven't dialed 100 times. It's hard to do. Right? You'll see this, the Navy SEALs and the recon guys and the Rangers and things like this when they're going under their training. You'll see them doing simple math questions and stuff like this. And sometimes when they're under that pressure, can't even do that because, again, what is their lowest level of competency? That's what we're talking about. So what is competency? It's simple. Competence refers to the skills and characteristics that enable you to perform a task or skill. And if someone could perform that task at the target level of proficiency is when they're competent, right? So to be competent, you must be able to react to a situation that follows behaviors that you found to succeed in the past, right? And to do this, you must be able to do these actions to take training in them at a regular basis. And competency grows with experience and training. Definition, right? But there are 4 steps of competency, right? There's unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competency, and unconscious competence. And so what we're doing when we're looking at getting training through, specifically for disaster drills and whatnot, right, is getting to the point of unconscious competence. That is, when you hear that alarm go off, that you just automatically act, that you don't have to go through the thinking process of what are my next steps are. Conscious competence means you understand what's going on, but you understand that you have steps that you need to take, right? If you think about Sully, when he was when he was landing his plane, because that's exactly what he did, into the Hudson River, right? He went through his checklist in his head like a pro, because he was a pro, right? Knew everything he had to go through because he was in the concepts of unconscious competence. He knows the checklist by heart. Well, the conscious competence means like I have a checklist I have to go and grab, take a look at this, and go through this, understanding what that is. So you want to get your team up to the point of unconscious competency. But let's go through the other areas first. So unconscious incompetence means that this is where you don't know what you don't know. Your teammates, your members don't know what they don't know. They don't understand like where they're at in this world, right? When a fire occurs, they don't even know how to pick up. They don't even know what a fire extinguisher is at this point, right? What I like to think about this is when I was teaching CPR, right? It's a person that doesn't understand placement of the hands, doesn't understand what an AED is, what it even looks like, what it sounds like. That's unconscious incompetence. Conscious incompetence means they do understand these things. They've gone through it once or twice before, but they really don't know how to do it by heart. Again, we'll go back to the CPR example because it's one of the things that a basic skill that we teach a lot of people, especially, at the college for safety type stuff. They acknowledge that they have shortcomings, right? They know that they've taken the CPR 2 years ago in the last recertification, but if you ask them to do it right away, they wouldn't be able to do it. Maybe if they think about it for a little bit, they might kind of figure out things that are going on. They take the AED, they don't really know how to plug it in. Can they put the pads on properly? Things like this. Moving to conscious competence means they've gone through the training a few times. If they think about it, they might struggle through it. And if you remind them with some simple tips or whatever, they'll figure it out quickly and be able to get back into the rhythm. At this stage here, your people that are doing CPR, for instance, are getting to the point where they start to maybe be proficient in CPR and first aid. And unconscious competence goes into the fact that when something occurs, the person is able to jump into action and do the CPR properly. And I've seen this. I've had a few, over the years, you get to the point to where if you go to a full arrest or whatever, people just go into it and start doing what they're supposed to be doing, just like a second hat. That's where you go into unconscious competence. When we think about this with our drills, right? We need to move people into the point to where they are at the point where they're unconscious competence, right? And how do we get this way? Well, we do this through training and repetition. And at the end of the day, we need to get the buy-in from the C-suite to be able to say, yes, we need to go through regular training and regular repetition on this, because when game day happens, when the black skies open up, are our people able to act? The strategies that are associated with this, right? Um, Whether it's through doing a daily or a monthly drill, doing one of the things I like to see, it's called potty training, where they put uh, flyers up, if you will, in the bathrooms where you're, doing your business, and you can sit there and read those training flyers, little reminders, and things like this. Or regular coaching and leadership skills training, where you are out there with your team actually doing things on a regular basis. In Titan HST, we send out a monthly drill reminder for those of our clients, with tips and ideas for conducting communication drills for your team. And just like at the Parsons Manufacturing Company, these little things can do and will make a huge difference when disasters strike. I want to thank you for being with us today. Visit Titan HST for all your communication needs. And remember to follow us on your favorite podcast player, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And join us next week. Until then, stay safe and stay hydrated. And everybody have a very, very safe and happy and merry Christmas and happy holidays.